Hi, my name is Melanie Mason. I am a campaign reporter with the LA Times, and these are my quick takeaways of Wednesday night's debate. I kind of think of it as the perils of being a frontrunner. So we saw Joe Biden, who really is the frontrunner in this race. The former vice president has been leading in most of the polls. He was getting pretty much a pile-on from all of his other rivals on stage, being attacked for his immigration record, deportations under President Obama administration, his record on crime by his support for the 1994 crime bill, and really almost any policy you can think of.
I don't hear an answer from the vice president. I'm confused. I asked the vice president point blank, did he use his power to stop those deportations? He went right around the question. Mr. Vice President, you want to be president of the United States, you need to be able to answer the tough questions.
He had both attacks from the left and the right. What I did notice is that Biden, who was a little bit low energy in the first debate, seemed to be a bit more prepared. He seemed a little peppier. He even used some of his Joe Bidenisms like malarkey. And so in some ways, Uncle Joe was back. But that said, he still was muddled, particularly when he tried to explain some reversals of previous positions. For example, when he talked about why he now did not support the Hyde Amendment, which bars federal dollars going to abortions, even though he supported it for many years. It sort of was kind of hard to follow. But the other frontrunner who I think really was under the spotlight tonight was Kamala Harris, who of course had a very strong debate in June in Miami. She really wanted to continue the focus on Joe Biden by going after him and his healthcare plan. But because she has now emerged as one of the leaders of the pack, her contenders on stage were also focusing on her.
There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so.
Harris, who is a career prosecutor, has faced some friction on the left by having some criminal justice stances that some people say are not sufficiently progressive. And it was pretty striking to hear Gabbard sort of pointedly list out some of the past positions that she took. My hunch is that some of Harris's leading rivals are quite happy to see that Gabbard took this to her without them having to get their hands dirty. On the flip side, somebody who really emerged as I think having a strong night was Cory Booker. Booker, who has had a hard time breaking through in the polls, had some pretty memorable moments, particularly when he was talking to Vice President Joe Biden about his record on mass incarceration and criminal justice.
And if you want to compare records, and frankly, I'm shocked that you do, I am happy to do that. Because all of the problems that he is talking about, that he created, I actually led the bill that got passed into law that reverses the damage.
Biden was clearly read up on his Oppo books and was ready to go after Booker for some civil rights abuses that happened in Newark.
Why did you announce in the first day a zero-tolerance policy of stop and frisk and hire Rudy Giuliani's guy in 2007?
Booker was ready to return the fire and basically said,
"You're dipping into the Kool-Aid and you don't even know the flavor."
It was a line that got a lot of traction in the audience, and really it underscored that Booker seemed to be having the most fun on the debate stage. He was quippy, he was quick on his feet.
You invoke President Obama more than anybody in this campaign. You can't do it when it's convenient, and then dodge it when it's not.
And then finally, I think another big takeaway for me is which underscored is healthcare is really hard. In both of these debates, we've seen some substantive, long conversations about healthcare policy, Medicare for all, universal healthcare. But unlike in the Tuesday night debate, where you had people like Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren be pretty fluent about their understanding of healthcare policy, it was a little tougher tonight. It seemed like the candidates were a little bit less flexible or facile with their understanding of healthcare policy, and it showed. So if you were a viewer who's just tuning in for the first time, I'm wondering if you really wanted to stick through, which was kind of a slog in the intricacies of healthcare policy. But the truth is that healthcare is a major issue in the 2020 elections. Democrats used it to great effect in 2018 to win back the midterms. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to hear much more conversation around healthcare in future debates. Perhaps these candidates will have brushed up a little bit more and come across a little bit easier in talking about this important issue. That's it for our debate coverage. Good news is we don't have to do this again until September, but be sure to tune in then. And in the meantime, please read all of our political coverage at latimes.com.